My dad's affair partner poisoned my mom with deadly tea. A hidden box of evidence helped my sister and me expose the murder and seek justice. I think I just found out that my dad's affair partner murdered my mom. I think I'm sitting on proof that my dad and his girlfriend murdered my mom. She died when I was 16. A heart attack out of nowhere while she was serving dinner. I tried CPR while my sister Emma called 911, but mom was gone. The last thing she did was squeeze my hand 3 times, which was our nonverbal code for I love you. Dad seemed absolutely destroyed at the hospital. He wouldn't let go of her hand. I remember thinking I'd never seen a man that broken. Then 3 weeks later, this woman, Linda from his accounting department, suddenly needed a place to stay because her apartment flooded. She showed up with her son Joshua and enough stuff to stock a whole house. Linda took mom's seat at dinner that first night, like it had always been hers. I tried so hard to be the good daughter. I helped Linda find the grocery lists, showed Joshua where everything was, and pretended I couldn't hear myself crying in mom's closet at night when dad made me pack up mom's clothes. I found her camera equipment hidden in a box, and something just clicked. I started taking pictures of everything before it disappeared. My English teacher, Miss Chen, saw me with a camera and mentioned she knew mom from weekend art markets. She said mom was always showing off pictures of me and Emma. Everything got worse so fast after that. Dad forgot my birthday but threw Joshua this massive party for making varsity. Want to know what really hurt though? He started calling Linda Sunshine. That was mom's nickname. They turned mom's art studio into a waiting room and shoved her paintings in the basement. Linda redecorated everything because mom's style was too depressing for healing. Emma hadn't spoken a word since the funeral, and Dad said therapy was too expensive. I documented everything with that camera, every erased piece of her. After months of practice, I entered mom's dream photography contest with a series called Ghosts in My House. I won first place. I got scholarship money and a gallery showing, but Dad called it a waste of time. The gallery opening was the same day as Joshua's championship game. Dad completely lost it. Family supports family. Your hobby can wait, he said. When I told him mom taught me photography, he threatened to take my cameras. Emma spoke for the first time in months, just saying mom would go to the gallery. Dad slammed the table so hard the dishes jumped the second she mentioned mom. That was the first time I became actually suspicious, not just grieving. I remembered something strange, too. A few months before mom died, Dad had started this new routine. He brought mom tea every night before bed. He always said his coworker Linda recommended this special blend for insomnia. Mom had been having trouble sleeping. She'd always joke that the tea tasted weird. When I remembered that, I decided to really start digging. It didn't take long to find the expected but still heartbreaking truth. I found love letters in Dad's office between him and Linda from 8 months before mom died. They wrote about how they were planning their future after, secret bank accounts, receipts for fancy dinners during work trips. Then I found medical records. Mom had been seeing a cardiologist. Dad never said a word about her having heart problems. Miss Chen helped me contact mom's lawyer. Turns out, mom protected everything for me and Emma in her will. Miss Chen's lawyer friend helped me file for emancipation. I recorded everything, every conversation about selling mom's jewelry, every lie. And then came the thing that truly vindicated me, Linda's birthday party. I volunteered to make a slideshow, and they agreed. The party started out perfect. All the family was there. I started my slideshow with sweet pictures of Linda, and then slowly the pictures got less and less sweet. Soon I was showing how Linda was wearing mom's jewelry. I saw Linda and Dad start to panic. They rushed to stop me, but some family members actually stopped them. They looked defeated, and that was even before the final blow because boom, the letters, the bank statements, the receipts were next. All dated. Everyone could do the math. Their affair had started while mom was sick. The room exploded. Dad and Linda actually ran out to avoid the backlash, but it didn't matter. Dad's mom immediately said we could live with her. Mom's sister drove 3 hours to get us. Dad and Linda didn't reach out once, but I didn't care until yesterday. You see, while packing up mom's camera equipment months ago, I found a locked metal box in her closet, but without a key. I took it with me just in case and never told a soul. Well, yesterday, while going through mom's jewelry that I'd saved, I found a tiny key hidden in her locket. The key matched the metal box. I opened it up immediately, and what I found is more disturbing than anything I could have imagined. It was a USB and an envelope that said, "Open only if something happens to me." The USB had private investigator files on it. Mom knew Linda. Not only that, she had found out Linda's first husband died of a sudden heart attack. The envelope had a letter from mom, dated a week before she died. The last paragraph made my blood run cold. If you're reading this, they didn't wait for the divorce. The prosecutor will know what to do with Linda's medical background in nursing. The very last line read, "Check the tea tin in the pantry. I kept every bag she made me." My heart stopped. The tea tin. When I was packing Mom's camera equipment months ago, I'd also grabbed random things from the kitchen that reminded me of her, including her favorite tea tin. I grabbed the tin with both hands and carried it to the kitchen table. The metal felt cold against my palms. Emma watched from the doorway, her eyes wide. She'd been talking more since we moved in with Grandma, but she still chose her words carefully. I pried open the lid. Inside were dozens of tea bags, each one carefully preserved in small plastic bags with dates written on them in Mom's handwriting. The most recent one was dated 3 days before she died. My stomach churned as I counted them, 47 bags spanning 2 months. Emma moved closer and picked up one of the bags. She turned it over in her hands, studying the date. Then she set it down and grabbed my phone from the counter. She typed something and showed me the screen. "We need to tell someone." I nodded and started photographing each bag, making sure the dates were visible. My hands steadied as I worked. This was evidence, real evidence. Mom had known something was wrong and she'd been collecting proof. The front door slammed. Grandma appeared in the kitchen doorway, grocery bags in her arms. She took one look at us, hunched over the tin, and set the bags down slowly. "What did you find?" she asked. I showed her the USB, the letter, and the tea bags. She read Mom's letter twice, her face growing paler with each word. When she finished, she pulled out her phone and started scrolling through her contacts. "My friend's son is a detective," she said. "We're calling him right now." While Grandma made the call, I uploaded the PI files from the USB to my laptop. The reports were thorough. Linda's first husband had died at 42 from a sudden heart attack. He'd been healthy before meeting her. The PI had interviewed neighbors who remembered Linda making him special teas for his stress. The parallels made me dizzy. Emma tapped my shoulder and pointed at one of the files. It was a pharmacy record showing Linda had access to cardiac medications through her nursing job. The PI had highlighted several substances that could cause heart problems if given in small doses over time. Grandma hung up and sat down heavily. "Detective Morrison will be here in an hour. Don't touch anything else." We waited in tense silence. I kept staring at the tea bags, thinking about Mom drinking that tea every night, trusting Dad when he said it would help her sleep. Emma held my hand under the table, squeezing it 3 times, our code. I squeezed back. Detective Morrison arrived exactly an hour later. He was younger than I expected, maybe in his early 30s, with kind eyes and a gentle way of speaking. He listened to our story without interrupting, taking notes in a small pad. When we showed him the evidence, his expression grew serious. "This is significant," he said, carefully bagging each piece of evidence. "We'll need to test these tea bags immediately." He asked us dozens of questions about Mom's health, her routine, and when the tea drinking started. Emma surprised me by speaking up, telling him about the night she'd seen Dad making the tea, how he'd always insist on bringing it to Mom himself. "Did your mother ever refuse the tea?" Detective Morrison asked. I remembered something. Once, about a month before she died, she said she was feeling better and didn't need it anymore. Dad got really upset, said Linda had gone to a lot of trouble to get this special blend, and Mom was being ungrateful. The detective wrote that down. "We'll need to interview Linda about where she obtained this tea." After he left with the evidence, Grandma made us dinner, but none of us could eat much. I kept checking my phone, expecting Dad to call or text, but there was nothing. He had to know by now that his family had confronted him at Linda's party. The whole extended family knew about the affair. That night, I couldn't sleep. I crept downstairs and found Grandma in the kitchen, staring at a photo of Mom on her phone. "I should have known," she said when she saw me. "Your mom called me a few weeks before she died. Said she felt strange, always tired." I told her it was stress from finding out about the affair. "She knew about the affair?" I asked. Grandma nodded. "She'd hired that private investigator to get evidence for the divorce. She was going to leave your father. She just wanted to wait until after your birthday to tell you girls." My birthday, the one Dad forgot because he was too busy with Joshua's varsity celebration. Mom had been planning to change our entire lives to get us away from him, and she never got the chance. The next morning, Detective Morrison called. The preliminary tests on the tea bags showed traces of several substances that shouldn't be in herbal tea. He couldn't give us details, yet, but he said they were opening a full investigation. "We'll need to exhume your mother's body," he said gently, "to test for these substances." "I'm sorry." I agreed immediately. Mom deserved justice. Emma nodded beside me, her jaw set with determination. 3 days passed in a blur of police interviews and lawyers. Grandma hired the best criminal attorney she could find. Mom's sister flew in to stay with us. The house filled with family members who'd cut off contact with Dad after the party. Then, on the 4th day, Dad and Linda showed up at Grandma's house. I was in the living room when I heard the car pull up. Through the window, I watched Dad get out first, his face haggard. Linda followed, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy. They walked up the driveway like they had every right to be there. Grandma met them at the door. "You're not welcome here. I want to see my daughters," Dad said, his voice hoarse. "They don't want to see you," Grandma replied. Linda pushed forward. "This is ridiculous. We're here to clear up this misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I stepped into the hallway, Emma right behind me. "Is that what you call murdering my mother?" Dad's face went white. "How dare you say that? Your mother had a heart condition that you never mentioned until after she died," I shot back. Funny how Linda's first husband also had a sudden heart condition. Linda's composure cracked. "You don't know what you're talking about." "The police do," Emma said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at her. "They have the tea bags. They have Mom's letter. They have everything." Dad took a step forward, but Grandma blocked him. "Get off my property before I call the police. Those are my daughters," Dad shouted. "Who you endangered by bringing a murderer into their home," Grandma said coldly. Linda grabbed Dad's arm. "We should go. Our lawyer said not to talk to them." But Dad shook her off. "I loved your mother. I would never hurt her. You were having an affair for 8 months while she was sick," I said. "You brought Linda's poisoned tea to her every night. You watched her get weaker and did nothing. The tea was supposed to help her sleep," Dad said. "Is that what Linda told you?" I asked. "Just like she told her first husband it would help with his stress?" Linda's face had gone gray. "I want to leave now." Dad looked between us and Linda, seeming to see her clearly for the first time. "The tea was your idea. You said it was a special blend from that health store." "Shut up," Linda hissed. "You made it yourself. You insisted I give it to her every night," Dad said. "Shut up," Linda shouted. Grandma already had her phone out calling 911. Dad was still staring at Linda like he was seeing a stranger. "Did you know?" he asked her. "Did you know what was in that tea?" Linda turned and ran for the car. Dad just stood there, frozen, as the truth finally hit him. He'd been her accomplice without even knowing it. He delivered the poison to Mom every single night, thinking he was helping her sleep. The police arrived within minutes. They took Dad and Linda in for questioning. As the patrol cars pulled away, I felt Emma's hand slip into mine. 3 squeezes. I squeezed back and we stood there together, watching them disappear. The truth was finally coming out. Mom had known someone was trying to hurt her. She'd gathered evidence, protected us in her will, and made sure we'd find the proof even after she was gone. She'd been fighting for us until the very end. Detective Morrison called that evening. They'd arrested Linda on suspicion of murder. The tea bags contained a cocktail of cardiac medications that, over time, would cause exactly the kind of heart attack Mom had suffered. They'd found the same substances in tissue samples from her first husband's autopsy. Dad was being held as a material witness. He claimed he didn't know about the poison, but he'd admitted to the affair and to giving Mom the tea every night. Whether he was truly ignorant or willfully blind, he'd still played a role in her death. I spent that night going through more of Mom's things. In her journal, I found entries from those last months. She wrote about feeling tired, about her heart racing at night, about the strange taste of the tea. She also wrote about her plans for after the divorce. She wanted to take us to Paris. She wanted to open her own gallery. She wanted to show us that life could be beautiful even after betrayal. Emma found me crying over the journal. She sat beside me and took out her phone. She typed. She knew we'd be okay. That's why she documented everything. She trusted us to find the truth. I nodded, wiping my eyes. Mom had trusted us with her final message. She'd known we were strong enough to handle it, smart enough to understand it, and brave enough to act on it. The next few weeks would be hard. There would be trials, testimony, and more painful truths. But we had each other. We had Grandma and Mom's sister and all the family who'd rallied around us. We had Mom's cameras, her art, and all the beautiful things she'd left behind. Most importantly, we had justice coming. Mom's final investigation would expose everything. Her careful documentation would speak for her in court. Even in death, she was still protecting us, still fighting for us, still being our mom. I picked up her camera and took a picture of Emma reading Mom's journal. The afternoon light caught her face just right, showing the strength there, the resilience. Mom would have loved this shot. She would have been so proud of who we were becoming. The camera clicked as I captured Emma's determined expression. She looked up from the journal and pointed to a specific entry. Mom had written about feeling dizzy after the tea, how her hands would shake in the morning. The dates lined up perfectly with when Dad started bringing her the nightly drinks. Grandma walked in, carrying a box of old photo albums. "I thought you girls might want these. Your mother loved documenting everything." We spent the next hour going through pictures, Mom at art shows, teaching photography workshops, laughing with us at the beach. Every image showed a vibrant woman full of life, nothing like the tired, sick person she'd become in those final months. Emma suddenly grabbed my arm. She'd found a photo from last Christmas, just weeks before Mom died. In the background, barely visible, Linda stood in our kitchen doorway, watching Mom open presents. We hadn't known her then. She was supposedly just Dad's coworker. "Look at her face," Emma whispered. Linda's expression in that photo was cold, calculating. She watched Mom like a predator studying prey. My skin crawled. The doorbell rang. Grandma answered it and returned with Mom's sister, Aunt Sarah. She'd driven straight from the airport, still wearing her flight attendant uniform. "I came as soon as I could," she said, pulling us into a fierce hug. "I should have been here sooner. Should have known something was wrong when your mother stopped calling." We showed her everything, the tea bags, the photos, Mom's journal. Sarah's face hardened with each revelation. "Your mother called me about the divorce," she said. "She was scared but determined. Said she had to protect you girls from whatever was coming." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "You need to stop this." Linda's voice was low, threatening. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Where's my father?" I demanded. "He's learning some hard truths, just like you will if you don't back off." The line went dead. My hands trembled as I showed Grandma the number. She immediately called Detective Morrison. That night, none of us slept well. Every car that passed made us jump. Emma stayed in my room, clutching Mom's journal like a lifeline. Around 3 a.m., we heard glass breaking downstairs. Grandma was already on the phone with 911 when we crept to the stairs. Through the banister, I saw a figure in black searching through the living room. They were heading for the box of evidence we'd gathered. Emma grabbed my hand, squeezing once. "Danger." I squeezed back twice. "Stay quiet." The intruder found the box and started stuffing papers into a bag. Then the police sirens wailed in the distance. The figure cursed and ran out the back door, leaving half the evidence scattered on the floor. The police searched the house and neighborhood but found no one. Detective Morrison arrived within the hour, looking grim. "We released your father earlier tonight." His lawyer argued we didn't have enough to hold him. Linda made bail too. "They're trying to destroy evidence," I said. "Which is why we're moving you to a safe house," he replied. "Pack what you need. We leave in an hour." The safe house was a small apartment across town. Aunt Sarah stayed with us while Grandma went to stay with friends. We weren't allowed phones or internet access. For 3 days, we lived in limbo, waiting for news. On the 4th morning, Detective Morrison visited with updates. The lab results were in. The tea contained a sophisticated mix of cardiac medications that would build up in someone's system over time. The dosing was precise, enough to cause symptoms, but not enough to trigger immediate suspicion. Linda's nursing background gave her the knowledge, he said. We found similar substances in tissue samples from her first husband. "What about Dad?" Emma asked. "He's cooperating fully. Claims he had no idea about the poison. He thought he was helping your mother sleep better." I wanted to believe Dad was just a fool, not a murderer. But he'd still chosen Linda over us. He'd still erased Mom from our lives. He'd still delivered the poison every night with his own hands. Detective Morrison left us with a victim advocate who explained what would happen next. Grand jury, indictments, trials. It could take months or even years. Justice moved slowly. That afternoon, the advocate drove us back to Grandma's to collect more belongings. The house felt different, violated. We worked quickly, gathering clothes and Mom's remaining artwork. In my room, I noticed something odd. My jewelry box had been moved. Inside, I found a note tucked under Mom's locket. "You were always her favorite, just like his first wife was mine." Some patterns repeat. L. My blood ran cold. Linda had been in my room. She'd touched Mom's things. Emma found a similar note in her desk. "Your mother thought she was so smart. Look where that got her." We showed the notes to the police officer stationed outside. He called for backup immediately. Within minutes, the house was swarming with investigators. Detective Morrison looked troubled. "These notes suggest ongoing harassment. We're increasing security." Back at the safe house, I couldn't stop thinking about Linda's notes. Some patterns repeat. Her first husband had died. Now Mom. Who was next? Emma must have had the same thought. She typed on the advocate's phone. What if she doesn't stop? The next week blurred together. Police interviews, meetings with prosecutors, sessions with grief counselors. We learned more about Linda's past. 2 dead husbands, both from heart attacks. She'd inherited money from both. She'd moved states each time, started fresh. Dad had been her third target, but Mom had figured it out, hired the investigator and gathered evidence, so Linda had to eliminate her first. One morning, Aunt Sarah burst into the safe house, looking shaken. "Your father's in the hospital. Heart problems." My first thought was that he deserved it. My second was darker. Linda was cleaning up loose ends. Detective Morrison confirmed our fears. "He's stable, but the symptoms are consistent with the same poisoning. We think Linda visited him before we arrested her. Maybe gave him something as insurance." "Insurance?" I asked. "If he can't testify, our case gets harder." We weren't allowed to visit Dad, but Aunt Sarah went. She returned with red eyes and his wedding ring. "He wanted you to have this," she said, placing it in my palm. "He knows he failed you, failed your mother. He's trying to make it right." I stared at the ring, remembering happier times. Before Linda, before the tea, before everything fell apart. That night, Emma showed me something she'd been working on. Using the advocate's laptop, she'd created a timeline of everything. Mom's symptoms, Dad's behavior changes, Linda's appearances in our lives. The pattern was clear. Linda had been planning this for over a year. "We need to find out more about her," Emma typed. "There might be other victims." The next day, we convinced Detective Morrison to let us research Linda's past. Under supervision, we combed through public records, social media, and news archives. What we found was chilling. Linda had been married 3 times. The first 2 husbands died. But there were also boyfriends who'd gotten sick, co-workers who'd had mysterious health problems, always cardiac issues, always after knowing Linda. We found a woman named Victoria in Linda's hometown. Her father had dated Linda briefly. He'd survived but suffered permanent heart damage. Victoria had tried to warn others, but no one believed her. Detective Morrison connected us via secure video call. Victoria looked exhausted but determined. "She's careful," Victoria said. "Never leaves obvious evidence. Always has explanations. My dad drank her special tea for 2 months before his heart attack. The doctor said it was stress." "Did he keep any of the tea?" I asked. "No, but I kept something else." Victoria held up a journal. "Linda gave this to my dad, said writing would help his anxiety. But look," she showed us pages covered in Linda's handwriting, health advice, tea recommendations, notes about healing herbs. It was like a poisoner's handbook disguised as wellness tips. "Can you send that to the detective?" I asked. "Already did. But there's more. I've been tracking her for years, found at least 7 people who got sick after knowing her. 3 died. Emma grabbed my hand. 7 people. 3 dead. Mom was just the latest in a long pattern. After the call, Detective Morrison looked shaken. "This changes everything. We're dealing with a potential serial killer." The investigation exploded. The FBI got involved. News media started sniffing around. Grandma fielded constant calls from reporters. We stayed hidden in the safe house, watching our private tragedy become a public spectacle. Then came the breakthrough. Victoria had connected with other victims' families. They'd formed a support group sharing stories and evidence. One member, a nurse named Tori, had crucial information. "Linda worked at my hospital 5 years ago," Tori explained over a video call. "She had access to the pharmacy, knew which substances could mimic natural heart problems. Several patients died on her shifts. We thought it was coincidence." "Did anyone investigate?" Detective Morrison asked, briefly. But Linda was smart. Never the same substance twice, always patients with existing conditions. She resigned before anyone could dig deeper. The evidence kept mounting. Financial records showed Linda had profited from each death. Insurance payouts, inheritances, joint accounts she'd convinced victims to open. She was a black widow in scrubs, using her medical knowledge to murder. Dad remained in the hospital, slowly recovering. He'd agreed to testify if he survived. Aunt Sarah visited daily, reporting back on his condition and growing remorse. "He keeps saying he should have known," she told us. "Should have questioned the tea, Linda's sudden interest, your mother's decline. Part of me wanted to forgive him. The other part remembered how quickly he'd erased Mom, how he'd chosen Joshua over us, how he delivered poison with his own hands." Emma felt the same conflict. She wrote in Mom's journal, continuing where our mother left off. Her entries were short but powerful. Dad was the weapon Linda aimed at Mom. Does the bullet apologize to the target? 2 weeks into hiding, Detective Morrison brought news. Linda had been indicted for murder, multiple counts. The other family's evidence had created an undeniable pattern. The trial would start in 3 months. "We'll need you both to testify," he said gently. "Are you prepared for that?" I thought about facing Linda in court, telling strangers how she'd poisoned my mother and destroyed my family. It terrified me. But Mom had gathered evidence, knowing we'd need to be brave. We couldn't let her down now. "We'll be ready," I said. Emma nodded beside me. That night, I dreamed about Mom. She stood in her art studio, camera in hand, smiling. "Document everything," she said. "The truth needs witnesses." I woke with new determination. We had 3 months to prepare, 3 months to ensure Linda never hurt anyone again. The safe house routine continued. Therapy sessions, legal prep, quiet dinners with Aunt Sarah. Emma and I grew closer, bonded by shared trauma and purpose. We were all each other had left of our immediate family. One evening, Grandma visited with photo albums we'd requested. We spent hours going through them, remembering better times. Then Emma found something that made us both freeze. A photo from a company picnic 2 years ago. Dad's office in the background. Linda sat at a picnic table. Across from her was a man we recognized from the news. Another victim who died 6 months before Mom. She was hunting at that picnic, Emma said quietly, looking for her next target. We showed Detective Morrison. He compared dates and cross-referenced employment records. Linda had worked at 3 different companies where victims were found. She'd used workplace events to identify vulnerable people, divorced, widowed, or unhappily married with assets. "Your mother wasn't random," he said. "Linda chose her carefully, probably researched your family's finances, your parents' marriage problems." The thought made me sick. While Mom struggled with her marriage, Linda had been circling like a vulture, waiting to strike. More evidence surfaced daily, other tea tins saved by suspicious families, journal entries documenting mysterious illnesses, financial records showing patterns of manipulation and theft. Then came an unexpected ally. Joshua called the safe house, asking to speak with us. Detective Morrison supervised the call. "I'm sorry," Joshua said immediately. "I didn't know. Mom told me your dad needed support, that you were being dramatic about grief." I believed her. "What changed?" I asked coldly. I found things in her room, medical textbooks with pages marked, notes about dosages, a list of names with dollar amounts. Your mom's name was there. Emma leaned forward. "Where are these things now?" "I gave them to the police, but there's more. I heard her on the phone last week before the arrest. She was talking about insurance policies and cleaning up loose ends. I think she has money hidden somewhere." Detective Morrison took over the call, getting details. Joshua had been living in denial but couldn't anymore. His mother was a killer, and he was ready to testify against her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about patterns. Linda's pattern of murder, Dad's pattern of betrayal, Mom's pattern of protecting us even beyond death. Emma found me in the kitchen at 3 a.m., making tea. We both stared at the kettle, remembering. "I can't drink tea anymore," she admitted. "Me neither." We made hot chocolate instead, sitting together in silence. Tomorrow would bring more revelations, more evidence, more pain, but tonight we had each other and Mom's memory. The next morning changed everything. Detective Morrison arrived looking grim. "Linda's escaped." The words hung in the air like a physical blow. Linda had escaped. My legs went weak, and Emma caught my arm, studying me. Detective Morrison continued, his jaw tight. "She overpowered a guard during transport to a psychiatric evaluation. We have every available unit searching, but she's been gone for 6 hours. Grandma's face drained of color. 6 hours? She could be anywhere. "We're moving you immediately," he said, already texting someone. Different location, tighter security. Within 20 minutes, we were in unmarked cars heading to a new safe house. This one was farther from town, more isolated. 2 officers would stay inside with us at all times. Emma gripped my hand during the entire drive, her knuckles white. The new place was smaller, more like a cabin than an apartment. Aunt Sarah paced the living room while officers checked every window and door. I couldn't stop thinking about Linda out there, planning her next move. That evening, Joshua called Detective Morrison's phone. The detective put it on speaker after checking the number. "She contacted me," Joshua said, his voice shaking. 10 minutes ago from a payphone. Said she needs money and wants me to bring it." "What exactly did she say?" Detective Morrison asked, recording the call. "That she'd make things right, that she had one more thing to take care of before she could disappear, then she'd send for me." Emma and I exchanged glances. One more thing to take care of. We both knew what that meant. "Did she say where to meet?" the detective asked. "Tomorrow night, the old Miller property outside town. She said to come alone, or she'd know." Detective Morrison ended the call and immediately started making arrangements. This was their chance to catch her, but something felt wrong. Linda was too smart to make such an obvious move. I pulled Emma aside while the adults planned. "She's not going to be there," I whispered. Emma nodded, typing on my phone. "It's a distraction. She wants the police focused on that meeting while she does something else." "But what and where?" The answer came at dawn. Grandma's phone rang. Her house alarm was going off. The police who'd been watching the property found the back door forced open. Someone had been inside. Detective Morrison took a team to investigate while we waited under heavy guard. He called an hour later with disturbing news. Linda had been in Grandma's house, but not to steal anything. She'd left something behind. "What kind of something?" I asked when he returned. He held up an evidence bag containing a tea tin. My blood ran cold. "There's a note," he said, showing us through the plastic in Linda's handwriting, "for my stepdaughters, a family recipe." Emma grabbed the counter for support. Even through the evidence bag, we could see the tea bags inside, the same kind Mom had drunk every night. "She's taunting us," Aunt Sarah said, her voice hard. "Or threatening," I corrected. Linda's message was clear. She could get to us whenever she wanted. That afternoon, Dad called from the hospital. Detective Morrison supervised while I answered, Emma listening beside me. "I need to see you," Dad said, his voice weak but urgent. "Both of you. There's something about Linda you need to know. Something I just remembered." "We can't come there," I said coldly. "It's not safe." "Then let me come to you, please. It's about your mother, about the night she died." Detective Morrison took the phone, arranging for Dad to be transported under guard to a neutral location. Despite everything, I needed to hear what he had to say. We met in a police station conference room. Dad looked terrible, pale, thin, hooked to a portable IV, but his eyes were clear, focused. "The night your mother died," he began, struggling with each word. "Linda was there earlier. She'd stopped by to drop off work files, but she went into the kitchen alone. I didn't think anything of it then." "She poisoned the tea that night?" Emma asked. Dad shook his head. "Not the tea, I think. I think she put something in your mother's dinner. The tea was just the long-term plan. But that night, she needed something faster." My mind raced. Mom had been serving dinner when she collapsed. She'd squeezed my hand 3 times. Our code. Had she known in those final moments what was happening? "There's more," Dad continued. "Linda had a storage unit. She mentioned it once when she thought I was asleep. Said she kept insurance there. I never asked what she meant. Detective Morrison was already on his phone getting warrants. A storage unit could contain evidence, weapons, or worse, more poison. They found the unit that evening. Inside were boxes of medical supplies, stolen medications, and journals dating back 15 years. Linda had documented every victim, every dose, every death. She kept trophies, jewelry, photos, even hair samples. But the most chilling discovery was a box labeled Future Projects. Inside were files on 3 women, all wealthy widows in the area. Linda had been planning her next moves even while poisoning Mom. Emma found me staring at one of the photos. A woman who looked disturbingly like Mom. Same age, same build, even similar features. "She has a type," Emma said quietly that night. Despite the guards and locked doors, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow could be Linda. Every noise might be her coming for us. Emma curled up beside me. Both of us startled awake by every sound. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello, sweetheart." Linda's voice was calm, almost motherly. "Did you get my gift?" I hit the speaker button and waved frantically at the guard. He radioed for backup while I kept her talking. "The tea?" "Very thoughtful," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Your mother appreciated my tea. Even when it tasted bitter, she drank every drop. Such a trusting soul." "Why call me?" I asked. "What do you want?" "To say goodbye and to give you some advice. Check on your Aunt Sarah. Family recipes should be shared, don't you think?" The line went dead. I turned to find Aunt Sarah's face white with terror. She ran to the bathroom, and I heard her getting sick. "When?" I asked when she emerged. "When did she give you something?" "The coffee," Sarah whispered. "At the house this morning before we left. She must have, when I wasn't looking." Detective Morrison called for an ambulance. They pumped Sarah's stomach at the hospital, found traces of the same cardiac substances that had killed Mom, but we'd caught it in time. Sarah would live. The close call changed everything. The FBI took over the case completely. We were moved again, this time out of state. New identities were discussed, but I refused to run. Mom hadn't run. She'd stayed, fought, and gathered evidence. We would too. 3 days later, they caught Linda at a truck stop 2 states away. An alert clerk recognized her from the news and called it in. She didn't resist arrest, just smiled when they cuffed her. "Tell my stepdaughters I'll see them soon," she said to the cameras. But we wouldn't give her that satisfaction. When the trial came, we would testify by video link. She'd never be in the same room with us again. Dad was released from the hospital a week later. He'd agreed to testify against Linda in exchange for a plea deal on accessory charges. He'd spend 2 years in minimum security, enough time to think about his choices. He asked to see us before his sentencing. Emma didn't want to go, but I needed closure. We met in the same conference room, guards present. I know you'll never forgive me, he started. You're right, I said, cutting him off. You chose her over Mom, over us. You delivered poison to the woman who loved you. I didn't know. You knew about the affair. You knew Mom was getting sicker. You chose not to see the connection. Dad's shoulders slumped. You're right. I was a coward. I wanted Linda so badly, I ignored every warning sign. Emma finally spoke. Mom knew. She gathered evidence to protect us because she knew you wouldn't. Your mother was always smarter than me, Dad admitted. Braver, too. I'm glad you both take after her. He pushed a folder across the table. I signed over everything, the house, the accounts, all of it. It's yours and I'm changing my will. Joshua gets nothing from me. You two get it all. We don't want your money, I said. Then donate it or burn it. But it's yours to decide. He stood slowly. I know I failed as a father, but I want you to know your mother's death haunts me. It always will. As guards led him away, Emma squeezed my hand 3 times. I squeezed back. We'd never have our parents back, but we had each other. The trial took 6 months. Linda was convicted on multiple counts of murder, life without parole. She smiled throughout the sentencing, even winked at the camera she knew we were watching through. Joshua testified against his mother, his voice breaking as he described finding her poison supplies. He'd moved in with his biological father's family, trying to build a new life away from Linda's shadow. Victoria and the other survivors formed an official support group. They pushed for new legislation about cardiac substance monitoring. Mom's case became the catalyst for change she never lived to see. Detective Morrison stayed in touch, checking on us regularly. He'd become protective, almost like an uncle. He was there when we spread Mom's ashes at her favorite art market, the place where she'd been happiest. Miss Chen helped me organize a memorial exhibition of Mom's work. The opening drew hundreds of people. Emma spoke publicly for the first time, reading a poem she'd written about Mom's strength. She documented the truth, Emma said, her voice clear and strong. Even when it hurt, even when it was dangerous, she trusted us to finish what she started. The exhibition raised money for a scholarship in Mom's name for young photographers who couldn't afford equipment or training. Mom would have loved that, helping others find their voice through art. Grandma's house felt different when we finally moved back. We'd redecorated, unable to live with Linda's changes. Mom's paintings came back upstairs. Her studio became a studio again, not a waiting room. Emma started talking more, even laughing sometimes. She joined the school newspaper, writing investigative pieces, following in Mom's footsteps in her own way. I kept photographing, but my subjects changed. Instead of ghosts in my house, I captured moments of healing. Emma gardening in Mom's old lot, Grandma teaching us Mom's recipes, Aunt Sarah visiting every weekend. Determined to make up for lost time. The tea tin sat in evidence lockup, but I didn't need it anymore. I had Mom's cameras, her journals, her love. That was the only inheritance that mattered. One evening, sorting through Mom's darkroom, I found a hidden envelope. Inside was a photo I'd never seen. Mom and us at last Christmas, laughing at something off camera. On the back, in her handwriting, my greatest accomplishment, my fiercest loves, my reason for fighting. Emma found me crying over it. She sat beside me, studying Mom's words. We were worth fighting for, she said softly. Still are, I replied. That night, I dreamed of Mom again. But this time she wasn't warning or instructing. She was just there, camera around her neck, smiling, proud of who we'd become. The next morning, I woke to find Emma already in the kitchen making breakfast, real food, not the frozen stuff we'd lived on for months. She'd even made coffee, though we both still avoided tea. I got into the journalism program, she announced, sliding an acceptance letter across the table. Full scholarship. They mentioned my essay about Mom and investigative truth. I hugged her tight, feeling Mom's presence in the moment. We were healing, slowly but surely, building lives she'd be proud of. That afternoon, we visited Mom's grave together. The headstone was simple but perfect: beloved mother, fierce protector, truth seeker. Fresh flowers from Grandma's garden lay at its base. Emma pulled out her phone and showed me something she'd written. Today marks 1 year. We survived. We exposed the truth. We honored her memory. We're okay. 3 squeezes between us. Our code, Mom's legacy. We stood there for a while, just being. Then Emma tugged my hand. Come on. We have that meeting with the scholarship committee. Mom's fund has 3 new applicants. As we walked back to the car, I felt lighter somehow. The weight of grief was still there but manageable now. Mom was gone, but her love remained. In every photo I took, in every truth Emma uncovered, in every hand squeeze that said what words couldn't. We drove home past the art market, past the gallery that showed my work, past the courthouse where Linda was sentenced. Each place a milestone in our journey from victims to survivors. At home, Grandma was cooking dinner. Aunt Sarah had arrived early, helping set the table. Even Joshua had started joining us occasionally, still working through his own guilt and grief. This was our family now, smaller, scarred, but stronger for surviving. We'd faced a killer and won. We'd honored Mom's memory and protected each other. We'd found our voices when someone tried to silence them forever. After dinner, I picked up Mom's camera and captured the scene, our makeshift family laughing over dessert. The light was perfect, golden and warm. Mom would have loved this shot, the beauty after the storm, the love that endured despite everything. Emma caught me smiling and raised an eyebrow. I showed her the camera's display. She'd be proud, Emma said simply. I nodded, saving the image. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The trauma would resurface sometimes. The grief would catch us off guard. But tonight, we were together. We were safe. We were healing. And somewhere, in every photograph and every word of truth, Mom's spirit lived on. Her final investigation had saved us. Now it was our turn to live the lives she'd fought to protect.